Good morning, Michelle.
Hey, good morning, Mariah.
I noticed we record in the mornings and we should maybe try an afternoon because maybe it'd be fun to be like, good afternoon, Michelle.
Might be, change it up a little bit.
Maybe. I love it. Okay, so today we thought we would shout out and give some love to some other folks. We were talking the other day. Michelle was filling me in on a couple different podcasts that she listens to that she thought I needed to listen to. And we were like, you know what? This is probably a fascinating topic. We're curious about like if you listen to us, whatever else, what else do you listen to? And we thought we'd share some stuff that like we're super excited about. So of course Michelle took notes and she's prepared, and I'm not. I'll just tell you what I listened to. But Michelle, I feel like you should kick it off. Like you were telling me about some crazy fun things the other day that you were listening to, and I think you should.
Oh yeah, I've got a wide variety of things. So, I kind of have looked at like some of the entertainment podcasts, and I am in love. Okay, so full disclosure, since the time that Silver Spoons was on the air, I've been in love with Jason Bateman. I think he is just so dreamy, and like I would leave anyone for like him to like spend any time with me. I just have always had a mega crush on him.
I love that this is your free pass. This is amazing.
So anyway, I don't know what it is about him. I don't know.
He's your favorite. I love it.
He's like my absolute favorite. So anyway, he and Will Arnett and Sean Hayes have an awesome podcast that they started in quarantine, kind of like we did. It's called Smartless. And so each week, one of them brings on someone, and the other two people don't know who it is.
I love this concept. I have not heard about this.
Oh my gosh, it's great. And so so my takeaways from it are there are three people in Hollywood that are sort of connected. They've done a lot of things. They've had some rejections. They talk about that. So that's kind of a good thing to talk about too, especially with different people, because it's always nice hearing that other people have failed. Because it makes then our failures seem like, okay, you know what? You have to fail in order to succeed. Right. And I think I'm really into like hearing that from multiple people right now. And so they've had Jennifer Aniston on, they've had Maya Rudolph on, Adam Sandler, most recently Reese Witherspoon, which everyone's favorite. And then they had Camilla Harris on right before she got the VP nomination. They've had a baseball player on, they've had a conductor for like symphonies and stuff. And there's something fascinating that you take away from each of their episodes. The cool thing is Sean Hayes has a sister that lives in Wisconsin.
Fun.
And right. And so they know that like sometimes.
Wait, what's her name?
I don't know. He has never shared her name.
I wonder if I know her.
But we want to find out who she is, because maybe she'll want to come onto our podcast. But no, seriously, they can get a little too industry like specific on things. And I think it was in the Maya Rudolph episode where like Sean had everyone step back for a second, because he's like, I gotta share this for my sister and her friends in Wisconsin so that they can follow along and know like the inside baseball that we're talking about. So I love that once in a while Wisconsin gets a shout out, because why not on like a fun like podcast.
So how does it go with a surprise guest? Are they like, do they know like?
No,
I'm not good at celebrities. Like if we brought a celebrity on, I would be the girl that was like, oh, what were you in? And it was like an Oscar winning something, and I wouldn't have watched it because I don't care.
I'd probably be the one that could hold like the platform together, because I kind of do pay attention to some of that stuff.
You do. I like people. I like asking questions. I like getting to know them. But like if it was someone famous and important, like I probably wouldn't know who they were.
And that's okay. No, they do pretty well. And a lot of it is just asking about so a lot of what they're doing for the people is like asking about their life, what they're currently doing. They talk a little bit about pandemic if they need, and it's just very real. And it's kind of approachable. It's fun. I love that like two people don't know, so they're going in blind. So you can't really prepare for that. And I think they're doing similar to what we're doing. They're like all like doing Zoom and cutting that up. And I'm like, well, they're doing exactly what we are. And
I love it.
So that's kind of fun. The other one that I have really loved, and it's kind of sassy, And I wish I would have found it in 2018, is called Girls Gotta Eat. And it's two friends and they talk, like no subject is off limits to them, and they get quite racy. And the one that I listened to that I really liked, they had like a woman who reads auras
Fun.
on. Fun. Yep. So a celebrity aura
I want to
read.
read my aura.
I know, right? It would be, I mean, I'm kind of fascinated by like mediums and psychics and aura reading and all of that. And I never used to be. And so
Yeah.
anyway, I listened to that one and they deep dove before they started with her into all kinds of crazy stuff on how, you know, different products that might help your bedroom life and all kinds of fun stuff. So
Fantastic.
I
I
love
don't
it
know.
because
I love that they're doing that. I'm not sure that we could do that, but I really like that someone else is doing that. So you can be like all voyeuristic and listen in. That's fun.
well, it is, and it's kind of like that whole concept of like everyone loves having someone like older that they really feel comfortable with, like a big sister role, that they can ask those questions of like, hey, got this thing, what do you do in this circumstance? And I love that they put that out there for like people, because I don't sometimes have those questions and don't know where to get the answers. And now that I've discovered this podcast, it's
I
like
feel like
maybe
this is
like
like your surrogate big
answer.
sister. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. I love it. So I'm obviously listening to way different things. I'm definitely not listening to that. That's cracking me up. Um, I yeah, I don't know. So I'm like really into personal development and self-improvement. And I feel like if I'm listening to something, like every once in a while I'll go for something entertaining, but usually I'm just interested in learning and I like good stories. So the one podcast that I'm like obsessed with that I listen to all the time is How I Built This from NPR. The
Oh
guy that
yes.
does it is Guy Raz, and it's just fascinating. I love it. And I mean, I guess, talk about stories of failure, because most of the how I built this is like how I built a business or how I started this thing. And it's always hard. I think that like anytime you look at someone successful, you're like, well, that must have been easy for them, but you don't really know the story behind the curtain. And quite frankly, like, I mean, my main business is essentially in sales. And so, I mean, the fact of the matter is like everyone can't say yes. So you're going to have rejection. You're going to have days that are great and days that are harder. And I just really love hearing stories of people who've been through this, something similar, or where it just, it usually ends up working out. Like, honestly, if you're on How I Built This, then like you're in a good spot with your business. You're not like on the edge of ruin and they're having a conversation about it. Like people work through the hard stuff and they're in a good spot. And most of the time, I would say that like most of us are in a good spot. Like I'm in a really good spot. Although there are days that like I feel like I'm killing it, and days where I'm like, why do I do this again? Like, what's happening? Where I almost want to fire myself. So I don't know. I really like that one. And it's been really interesting to learn about like how people build businesses, how they make decisions, because I'm super interested in entrepreneurship and starting businesses and investing in businesses, and like how you choose that and how you look at all those pieces. Like that's one of my favorites.
Yep.
It might be really nerdy.
No, but I mean, it sounds like you listen to podcasts more for continuing education.
Pretty much. Like I'm always interested. I mean, I like learning. Like I like figuring things out, and I like hearing examples and stories. So I mean, like that one's one of my favorites. For a while I was listening to Tim Ferriss. Is that right? All of a sudden I was like, am I saying his name right? But he's like a long format podcast dude. Like none of his podcasts are less than an hour. Sometimes they're 2 or 2.5 hours. And like I usually listen to his stuff on like 1.5 times speed while I'm mowing the lawn, perhaps. But like since hip surgery, I have not been doing that. And like sometimes I have patience for that like deep dive, and sometimes I don't. I don't know. Michelle, do you like something that's shorter or longer when you're listening?
I think I'm about, when I've been listening, I mean, I've been kind of looking at more of like the entertaining, or it's got to catch me into something. And so like most of mine have been like 45 minutes, an hour, and I'm okay with that. Some of them get a little long, and that's where it like loses me. Or if they've got a bunch of content, then they've got the person that they're interviewing, and then they've got more content after. I sometimes find myself wanting to get to the person that they're interviewing.
Yeah.
Versus some of the like the catch up and stuff.
So do you have anything that's like super short that you listen to that you love, or?
Ooh, no. Because no, I think Smartless is the shortest, and they're right around 45 minutes to an hour depending on their guest.
Okay. I've started listening to the New Corner Office with a woman named Laura Vanderkam. And
Oh,
I actually have been following Laura for a really long time. Like, I think I have been on her email list for over a decade. She does like productivity tips, and like time management and stuff like that. And like, that's always been a struggle for me. And her new podcast is called The New Corner Office. She's got a new book about it, and a lot of it is talking about working at home and how do we work virtually. And all of her episodes are 5 minutes.
nice. Now
And 5 minutes with sponsor messages, and honestly I don't always listen to them, so like I mean sometimes, because sometimes it's fascinating, but sometimes I don't care about what granola bar you eat, so
right.
but like 5 minutes, and so I can binge a whole bunch of them at one time. Like, I was doing dishes the other day and I just played like 5 or 6 of her episodes in a row. And I mean, I got like, some stuff is like things that I'm aware of because I've studied time management for a long time, but I think I got like 3 new tips out of it that I was like, oh, that's super great, I love that. And then I
Okay.
felt really productive because I listened to like 5 or 6 podcasts.
Right. No, and I mean, I find myself, there's one that I listen to, Even the Rich, like they do like deep dives about an hour each into various topics. And that's the one that I messaged you about, because they did a deep dive into the Versace, Gianni and Donatella, that whole family. And so like first episode was about how they grew up, and then kind of like how the empire built. And then you had said you were in Miami when
Yeah. So this
Versace.
is, God, I'm trying to think how old I was. Probably like, we'd have to like Google when Versace got shot on his houseboat. But you guys, I was in Miami when that happened. I was hanging out with my aunt. We were sitting, like we were walking the strip in Miami, like right along the beach with all those cool Art Deco hotels. And all of these sirens happened and everything got locked down and we couldn't go anyplace. And she was like, well, do you want to get a pizza? And I was like, heck yes, I do. So we hung on the like this porch of this old Art Deco amazing hotel and had a pizza and hung out and people watched while they were dealing with like the Versace murder on his houseboat, which is maybe such a bizarre situation and dates me a lot, but I feel a small connection to the Versace people because of it.
Well, right. And so, so I got to the point where they were talking about that in the episode. I haven't listened to that one yet, but I listen to like some of these longer podcasts, especially if I'm going to be in the kitchen for a little bit cooking. I can get like a little bit of that done, or when I'm cleaning the house, you can get a couple of podcast episodes in. So I got started on that podcast because their first episodes were about the royals,
Oh,
Princess
yes.
Diana, Kate, Meghan, and that whole thing. And it was fascinating to listen just in a different context of like, all of those women are really being set up for a life, and you either have people supporting you in that process or you have people making it really challenging for you. And I
We'd be
had
really
my
good at
heart.
being princesses. Could we just talk about that for
No,
1 second?
I don't think I would be.
No, I
I'd
think
be
you'd
a
be
great
adorable.
I'd be a great social secretary for a princess. No, I don't know. I don't know that I'd want to though. Like my heart goes to Kate and Will just because Will's the oldest, and there's a lot of like sense of duty that people have when they're an oldest child and they're filling that role.
Yeah, but I feel
Um,
like I have a sense of duty as an oldest child, but like no ball gowns, no staff, and like no other benefits. I just have all the
no.
guilt associated with being a firstborn for all of that. So if I'm gonna have it, I'd rather be a royal.
Right.
Just
Well,
great.
I mean, there is some of that, but I think that goes into like the whole like the brothers relationship, and like how they've each handled some things with it, and
So which podcast was that one again?
it's called Even the Rich, and it's
Okay.
done by two women who live in LA, and they are former valets, like car valets. Like and they kind of worked their way through different things. So,
I
once
should
in a
probably
while,
listen to that
depending on
one.
the episode you're listening to, there's some interesting contextual things that they make. They did a really nice two-parter on John F. Kennedy Jr. and Carolyn Bessette and the marriage, and then, how that, the thing that I remember, I mean, that's the first time I really remember TV taking over the world, was when JFK and Jr. and his bride and her sister all were in that plane crash.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, I know.
So I feel like most of the time, and then maybe I've left some things that I normally listen to. I'm like actually scrolling through my podcast right now.
Yeah.
It usually was all about the TED Radio Hour. The one thing I always found really fascinating, that one's got great ideas on how to like improve yourself. I was listening to all of this stuff, and right now I feel a little bit like stuck in my life. And I don't necessarily, like, I'm just trying to get through every day. So I don't necessarily need all of the let's be uber productive stuff that's like not helping me. What is helping me right now is On Purpose with Jay Shetty.
Yeah.
Holy crap, it's good. And I listened to a couple recently that I think were fantastic, and I feel like people need to know about this. But the first one that I loved was How to Cope with Anxiety and Feel More Centered Throughout Your Day. And that was with him and I think Glennon Doyle. And that was amazing. Like,
I might need to listen to that.
Amazing. It was so good. Somebody recommended to me the Kristen Bell one that he just recently did, and I listened to that like while I was folding laundry, because you guys, let's be real, I don't have time to hang out and listen to a podcast. I only listen when I'm cleaning, doing laundry, doing dishes, driving. Like, that's it. Otherwise I don't listen because I'm busy. So Kristen Bell talked about parenting, empathy, avoiding comparison fatigue, and she's so damn real. Like, I loved that one. So I just feel like right now I need Jay Shetty because I need mental peace in my life. Like, the world is not peaceful, and that's been the biggest change. So I'm loving that one.
And then the other one that I've been listening to that I've been loving is kind of a heavy one. It's called Terrible Thanks for Asking. Nora McElnerney, she kind of started this. She's a widow. She lost her husband young, had a child with her husband, and then her father passed away shortly thereafter. I can kind of empathize with her. Like,
yes, this is your life too, except without the kid.
Well, without the kid, but my mother passed away shortly after my husband did, and then my father-in-law did too. And so, like, I got connected to her because someone shared a TED Talk that she did, and I've connected with the phrase that you don't move on from grief and loss, you move forward with all of it. And so that was the topic of her TED Talk. And I then realized that she started a podcast. I mean, she's been doing it for a while. I didn't really realize that. But I've been listening to hers because a couple of people have told me that they've been listening to it. And one in particular, she's like, I made some connections that I didn't think of when I listened to the podcast, and realized that not only is my mom going through some of the moving forward with, but you are too, and I can only imagine what that's like. And so I was like, oh wow, if people are listening and thinking of me. And she doesn't just talk about grief and loss. Her most recent episode, she talked with a woman who was Miss North Dakota, and she was African American and living in a mostly white state. And how do you represent your state when you are a minority? And so a lot of her podcasts are, people have overcome or, dealing with hard stuff. And there's a way forward with it. And I guess I appreciate that story and message. I don't know. I think we listen to things that we're drawn to, and I don't know, but I'm trying to challenge myself and listen to more and different things, because I feel like podcasts are a good way. I don't know if you feel this way. I feel like they're a good way to like increase our knowledge without having to spend time in a classroom learning, but you can still learn and be a lifelong learner. And I appreciate where.
Well, and I've had a little bit of a hard time, I think, just being alone with my own thoughts. So I think having something to listen to that feeds my brain in a good way Dictionary way, it sounds like is where maybe you're at, has been really good. So I would actually love, and I know Michelle would too, we'd love to know what you guys are listening to, if there's podcasts that you love and why you love them. So we'd love comments. And also you guys, like, this is a passion project for us. It's been really fun, but we probably should start like asking for ratings. So if you're enjoying us, please rate our podcast. And if you know anybody from a sponsorship standpoint, I suppose we should probably start looking at that too. Although I kind of just enjoy doing our own thing and saying whatever we want. Because if I don't like your granola bars, I'm not going to be. But that would be the deal. We'd love to know what you're listening to, and we'd love to know if you guys are enjoying what we're putting out, and if it's adding value. So that's what I got today.
Or if there's topics that you want to hear us talk about, we'd love to know that too, because we're doing this for us, but we're doing this for everyone who's listening. And clearly you are listening to us. And so help us.
Awesome. All right, let's, we're going to sign off, and hopefully you guys have a great day, but like, let us know if we're missing something amazing in the world. We don't want to miss out. FOMO's real. Bye.